Okay, let me introduce my second guest now. Let's get him on screen. Sheikh Mohammed Ismail. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, brother?
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, jazakumullahu khairan for having me here. Jazakumullahu.
Nice to speak to you. I know that we've known each other for a long time, I guess, but our paths have never crossed. We've never met. So I'm glad to be speaking to you face to face at last. Let me introduce you, Sheikh, before we start our conversation. I think you're joining us from Leicester, is that correct?
Yes, I am from Leicester now.
Yes, but you're originally from Kandy, which is in the hill country, which is Sri Lanka's second city, I guess. A really beautiful place with a huge lake in the middle and surrounded by mountains and a beautiful climate and just a wonderful place that I encourage people to visit. So Sheikh Mohammed Ismail is the director of the Al Bayan Arabic Foundation, which teaches Arabic, Quran, and Islamic studies in Leicester. And I believe, Sheikh, that you're also one of the organizers of a protest which will take place in London outside the Sri Lankan High Commission on Saturday. Tell me about that protest.
Alhamdulillah, subhanallah. As your guest, I was listening to him. Alhamdulillah, I met him several times. And one of the things I want to mention, since the government introduced this forced cremation, many people in Sri Lanka and also the diaspora team, they worked very, very hard to stop this cremation. And I think many lawyers, included many academics, worked hard. But unfortunately, myself and everybody hoped only one thing from the court and the appeal court, maybe we will get a positive answer. Unfortunately, the court, the 1st of December, they dismiss all 11 cases. They don't want to listen to the cases. And some experts mentioned, even if they listen to the cases, they don't have the solid points to win against the Muslims. And so many lawyers, I think almost 30 lawyers, including minority Hindus and Christian and Buddhist lawyers, they came on behalf of Muslim community, and they were prepared. They were ready since May 2020 till now. They had many months to prepare, but the government, they decided, as your guest mentioned, there is a power. They want to keep the, I think, a vote bank until the next election, because they already came to power with one phrase: one country, one law. And this is the phrase, and came to the Sinhalese Buddhist community. Yes, we need to come to the position, we control everything. And they want to say, like, we are the only one nation belongs to this country. This is very clearly, they mentioned several positions. We are the only nation. But, and
Sri Lanka is, their position is Sri Lanka is a Buddhist Sinhalese nation, and no one else basically is welcome. Christians, Muslims, Hindus, no one else is welcome. It's straightforward Buddhist nationalism of a very aggressive kind. Yeah.
As you mentioned, this is the word I want to use also. Buddhist nationalism, it is in the peak. And if you come to the Sri Lankan history, last 2009, and I think LTTE was defeated. After 2009, LTTE was defeated. Many experts mentioned.
This is the just for the viewers who are not familiar with Sri Lanka. So LTTE is the Tamil Tigers. So basically, they're the Tamil minority who had a state in the north and the east of the country for a while. They're Hindu by religion, by and large, and they fought a war for many years, for 20, 30 years, against the Sri Lankan government, which is obviously a Sinhalese Buddhist government. The Muslims, they got caught in the middle. I think the LTTT, the Tamil Tigers, committed lots of atrocities against the Muslims in the east of the country. But generally the Muslims were kind of neutral in that war, or they didn't anger either side. But since the end of that war, the target for the Buddhist nationalists used to be the Hindu Tamils, but now it's the Sri Lankan Muslims.
Yes, and also the global climate was very suited for them because the global climate was anti-Islam and also Islamophobia. And they use this phrase and everything. The words which is we familiar in the Western world, ISIS, radicalization,
Mm.
extremism, these words and frequently used in Sri Lankan old media. And and I am from Sri Lanka. I lived all my life in Sri Lanka. Still, I have the passport, Sri Lankan passport, even though I'm living here. And we never know any Sri Lankan Muslim join with extremist group or anything. And I need to mention like 2019,
Yeah, the
April
Easter bombings,
21st.
because obviously the Easter bombings took place last year.
Yes,
Obviously, Muslims were blamed for that. A group affiliated to ISIS was blamed for that. So, just playing devil's advocate for a second here, because I'm a journalist and I should do this. Is it understandable to a certain extent why there's this suspicion of Muslims in Sri Lanka now?
yes. And unfortunately, and I want to say, and if there is a suspicion, what is the way to, the take the suspicion out? Someone come out and speak the truth. But unfortunately, in Sri Lanka, the educated people, Muslim side, and also even the Buddhist side, not came with a solid foundation to bring the evidence to the Buddhist community. This is false claim. Even like now, there is a two side. One Muslim side is they are fearing to open their mouth. That's one
Mm,
side. That is wanted by the government. The second side, and they are the suppressing people. And unfortunately, now we can feel the hand is upper hand from the government side, and Muslims, even a small tweet, even a small Facebook sharing, they afraid,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that is the element. It is our responsibility, those people who are living abroad, we decided we need to speak out. And
yes,
this is the last moment. This is the last, like a tool we have. So we are not against what is called the Buddhist people, or we are not against the government itself. But there are some elements of extreme Miss Buddhist nationalist. These waves are taken by the government. We are
yeah.
asking this is better for the Sri Lankan, not only Muslim community, Hindu community, especially for Sinhalese community. I want to tell you this thing. Sinhalese community, 70% of the population. They are the people more suffering in this situation. The government want to hide the failure of the economic system and also failure of controlling the pandemic of COVID. Even this is second time, second wave came. They don't know how to control.
Brother,
So
but I want to ask you some of these wider questions about how did we get here in Sri Lanka? But first, I want you to plug the protests because you are protesting outside the Sri Lankan High Commission. We have many people watching here now. Tell them, and inshallah, some people can come as well. When is it happening? What's the protest going to be about? Give me all the details, please.
yes. First of all, the stop forced cremation. That is our message from the protest. Protest going to be Saturday, 12th of December, the next Saturday, between 12 and 4 o'clock in front of Sri Lankan High Commission
So
in
this is in a
Hyde
few
Park.
days' time.
Yeah, a few days' time.
On Saturday, what time?
Saturday between 12 and 4 o'clock. And we have all the risk assessment done, all the permission granted by the
Yeah.
authority. There is no need for fear, everything done clearly. And
The Sri Lankan High Commission. Where is that in London? Where's the nearest tube stop,
tube
for example?
station is what is called Paddington.
Paddington. Okay,
Yeah,
it's
Paddington.
near
And
Paddington Station. I
yeah,
haven't been.
Paddington
I had been
station.
there in the past, but not for a long time, so I've
Yes.
forgotten where it was. But so
I
it's
think
near
closer to
Paddington.
Hyde Park. And if you come there, and it's a very easy. I think even in our flyers, we mentioned all the tube station nearest one, and also we
Yeah.
given the address. And
Maybe
especially,
somebody who's watching this, you guys, if you can Google where the Sri Lankan High Commission is in London and leave it in the comments so that I can read it out later, so that I can give this protest a plug. Who will be speaking? Who will be speaking there?
okay, there are solid people. We will speak in different languages. Myself, I will speak in Tamil and also in Arabic. and plus in Tamil language, what is called the English language and Sinhalese language. Even we want to use some European languages, inshallah. And we want to give the message to the Sri Lankan Muslim. Number one, you don't need to fear. Number one, you need to take the fear out of your heart, because you lost everything. When we lose the properties, we never hurted this much. But when we lose our rights for burial, we hurted so much. So this is the last option we can talk and
What are people
plead.
telling you? I mean, do you know anybody personally that has suffered this humiliating, or their loved ones have suffered this humiliating exit? What are Sri Lankan Muslims telling you about this situation?
And I talk to two families. It's very hard to talk to them. Number one, I just listening to the crying only. So I think this is for every Muslim. They can feel it, and how like if the same situation come to my family, I can feel it. How this one hard, and even the people are just. I did not see my father or mother's face, and I couldn't reach before burial. How much you feel, and this is not that same feeling. This is harsh than 100 times harsh, because and this is going to be ever until I die. So this is the way all the families are feeling. I think
Mm.
this is no words to explain to the people or condolence given to them, and only inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And also we need to say, even the time of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim and the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam went through so many hardships. So we know this history. We need to be patient. Same time, we need to take some action. Especially the action is enjoying the good, forbidding the evil. When we forbidding the evil, this is better for humanity, not just better for the Muslim. This is the message we need to give to the Sri Lankan population also. Even if the Buddhist comes, what we are saying, you look at the country very, very if you look sharply, last 10 years is gone very decline. You sold one part to the Chinese and another part to the American, another part to the India. And also this climate, they want to hide, and behind they were covering everything behind Islamophobia and Islam. And also I want to tell you, as you mentioned recently, I think in this discussion about the Rohingya Muslims situation. And the same principle they are trying to apply in Sri Lanka. So this is the reason the community outside and especially the Bangladesh near to us, Pakistan near to us, even in India and South India, Muslims, very large numbers, they are near to us. We need to discuss with them also. They need to raise the voice
Mm.
against this cruel discrimination against the minorities. And the last 30 years war and the Tamil was targeted. Even that time, many Muslims, they are spoken out. And the same time, and the Tamils are speaking out now at the moment on behalf of Muslims.
Yeah.
So many Tamil diaspora
So we
people
need
are
to
speaking on
internationalize
behalf
this.
of us.
Sheikh, I have many questions for you, but I think instead of me asking you questions, we might take a few comments, and maybe you can just jump in if you have anything to say. So I don't want to read out comments that I've already read out, so Mohammed says, yes, sorry, that's already been read out. Let me just go a little bit further on. Just bear with me for a minute. So here we do have an address. So Hussein has helpfully put the address, which is 13 Hyde Park Gardens, Tyburnia. Not sure where that is. London, W2 2LU, United Kingdom. So it's near Hyde Park somewhere. So if you just Google Sri Lankan High Commission and you get down there, inshallah, if you can, for 12 p.m. on Saturday, I think that will be really appreciated. We can't solve the situation in Sri Lanka necessarily, but we can take some action, as the Sheikh said. So let me read out some comments. Sorry, 1 second. So Mohammed says, unable to do a second PCR check. What is a PCR check? What is he referring to? As authorities do not permit it, as all COVID tests in Sri Lanka are actually only 70% accurate. I think he's saying that some of the people that have been cremated didn't even have COVID, including Muslims. Fazlan says, can't we take any action to stop forced cremation of Muslims? Fazmin says, it's clearly discrimination against the Muslim minority. Sabina says, are there links between the BJP and the Sri Lankan government that are catalyzing this situation? I don't think there are. Correct me if I'm wrong. Are there links between the Sri Lankan government and the BJP? They do get on, don't they, India and Sri Lanka at the moment?
The sister is partially very correctly she pointed, because in Sri Lanka, the east part of Sri Lanka, there are Tamil, some of the elements of BJP party ideas are coming, and especially against the Muslim, there are time to times some leaflets are spreading out in the villages. And even 2 points I can mention. One thing came from the east part, and no, what is called slaughter of the cows. This is came
Yes.
from the Hindu party. And also there was a one national school, Hindu college. There were 5 or 6 sisters went to teach. They were used to wearing the hijab and the jilbab, but one day the parents came out, and they protest against these teachers, because they don't want to allow these teachers coming to school and teach with the jilbab and the hijab, not the niqab, the
Yeah.
jilbab.
And just,
So
to
yeah,
explain to the
this you
viewers
can say.
that I think there's a ban on cow meat, isn't there, in Sri Lanka now, and effectively that effectively impoverishes Muslims to a large extent, because they're the ones that they're the butchers, etc. So again, it was a subtle or not so subtle attack against Muslims, camouflaged as something else.
And one correction, they did not ban the cow meat eating, but they burn many places. They can't slaughter the cows. It's still
Slaughtering, yeah.
permission, but they want to control it.
Yeah, and cow meat can still be imported, I believe, as well. So Five Pillars is doing great work. Jazakallah khair in the awakening of this beautiful ummah, which is a sleeping giant. May Allah bless you and keep you steadfast, inshallah. Ameen. Fizza says, what is taking place in Sri Lanka will never stop until we raise our voices as a global ummah and send our support in whatever way we can. Our mosques need to give their support, and the contact needs to be upped. I'll second that, because obviously now we're quite fixated on what's going on in France, which is very near to us, naturally, I suppose, and perhaps also in Austria and other places. But the focus isn't so much on Sri Lanka. But I must admit, whenever we do anything on Sri Lanka on Five Pillars, I've been quite surprised. We get a lot of traction. I know that there are a lot of Sri Lankan Muslims in this country, but I do feel that generally, I guess because maybe most British Muslims are either Pakistani or Bangladeshi or Arab, they don't know Sri Lanka so well. But I urge that has to change. There is a massive 2 million strong Muslim community in Sri Lanka, and you must kind of show solidarity with your Muslim brothers. So Lancaster Gate apparently is the nearest tube station. Jazakallah khair for that. Is Roshan? Yeah, I am on social. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. My Facebook is partly private, but my Twitter is completely open. So that's at RM Saleh. Hyde Park Gardens is the address. I'm not sure what that is. So that's just the Google. That's just the Google link for the embassy. Mohammed says, "Do we know the people, so-called the technical committee, as government seems to be staking that they are helpless to act independent of this committee?" I don't understand that. Do you understand what that tweet means? What that message means?
Yes, understand. What the government they did, like they passed the ball to someone. What they did, they set up a technical committee. They said, we don't know when the technical committee given the permission to bury, and we will decide.
All right, okay. So they're just shifting the blame on somebody. Yeah, so they don't want to take a decision, but they're blaming other people. That's quite Sri Lankan, isn't it? Because Sri Lankans don't like delivering bad news, do they? I've noticed that trait. So they say, "Oh no, it's somebody else. It's somebody else's fault." Mohammed Asif says, "Do protests really make a difference? I mean, for instance, the Islamophobic cartoons created mass protests, but what I see is every time they press the button, we react to it. Isn't it better to respond?" Would you like to address that point? Do protests make a difference?
Yeah, what I want to say, as a Muslim, we need to understand the problem. Even if I'm living in abroad as a diaspora, I need to understand what is the problem, real problem it is in Sri Lanka. And I want to educate this community in Sri Lanka, not only Muslim, all other people also. The same thing, even the people are here, like you mentioned, the Pakistani and other Asian Muslim crowd and Arab crowd, they should understand what is the real problem happening in all over the world, especially the people who are minority. Because and the minority people always thinking, okay, the majority Muslim countries, they're going to give us hand, but this is the way. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, when they keep silence, and this is not going to help, even psychologically, we're going to go
Yeah,
down.
and I think international pressure. I think Sri Lanka is not a powerful country. It's
Yeah,
still quite a weak country. So international pressure could have some effect. I mean, on China, you could argue that international pressure won't have any effect on China because it's such a rich, powerful country in every single sense. But Sri Lanka needs the rest of the world, doesn't it? And I think even
yes.
today, a British minister wrote to the Sri Lankan government, maybe not a minister, maybe I'm getting this wrong, but there was some pressure from the United Kingdom authorities on the Sri Lankans, and they perhaps will listen to that.
And if you can repeat again, please, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm just saying that international pressure could work on the Sri Lankan authorities, right?
Yeah, definitely it will work. And I think definitely it will work. And also, many Sri Lankans are working in Middle East. So even all the time they have the fear. If the
Mm.
Muslim countries decided something against, our people who are working, and this is going to be very huge loss for economy. So that
Yes.
is one side. And also like a tea and the garments, all the export side is goes to the Muslim countries. And this is also another side. And especially Pakistan is a very close ally to Sri Lankan government. So that
Mm.
is another side I want to tell
Imran
to
Khan, you want
everybody.
Imran Khan to talk about this?
Yeah,
Let's try and make
everybody.
that happen.
Yeah, if you are here to convince the authority in Pakistan to speak on behalf of Muslim community, that is the best things to do because Imran Khan and he can do it.
Yeah, okay. So Chile says the fact that networks like Five Pillars isn't the mainstream is the reason why there's a global hysteria against Islam. Mainstream media is a big enabler when it comes to spreading hate against Muslims. Usman says, what's the economy of Sri Lanka like? Are Muslim scapegoats? I think definitely they are. The economy isn't too strong as well. Fazmin says, Sheikh, what is the opinion of all Ceylon Jamiat al Ulama about forced cremating in Sri Lanka? Yeah, does Sri Lanka have does it have a council of ulama who have pronounced on this topic? Sheikh, you're muted. We can't hear you.
I did not do anything. Is it muted?
Oh, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. And it is before 1948 it was established. It was powerful in the body, and all the Muslim Ummah in Sri Lanka, they are listening to one, the body, that is the Jamiatul Ulama. But
Okay.
unfortunately, and we see sometime we need to stand firmly what is our what is called the place to reach, aim to reach in this moment, especially when it's come to after they attack the halal food, when they attack the hijab and the niqab, and these all the things they need to address clearly. What is the argument we're going to talk to, especially the Muslim? How do you tackle with these things? And also the second, you need to talk to the Sinhalese Buddhist people. If you don't talk, this is going to build the doubt over and over. So this area, I think the sister or the brother who asked, yes, it is very important. We need to discuss with the Jamiatul
Okay.
Ulama also.
Okay, Sheikh Mohammed Ismail, I really appreciate you taking the time out to explain the situation in Sri Lanka to us today. And inshallah, I'll see you on Saturday. So inshallah, I will try and get down there. And I believe you're one of the speakers. I might try and say a word or two myself, if you permit me, if I'm welcome to talk for a few minutes. And yeah, so Jazakallah khair. Yeah, I'll give you the final word, Sheikh.
And also, I would like to thank all the audience, Alhamdulillah. And your work, inshallah, continue because the minorities' voice is raised in the Western world is very important. And I think the last 20 years, we try to reach it through the media. And slowly and slowly, we picked now, inshallah. I think wonderful work, inshallah. May Allah reward you well. And also, finally, I need to remind everybody, inshallah, This is, like a one ummah, because something we need to feel, because the Muslims of Sri Lanka and the Muslims of UK all are brothers and by belief. So you need to make the dua for us, and also this is the important part. The second part is, even if you can share something to raise this awareness towards the Muslim ummah, inshallah, it will be help for our cause, inshallah. Be on Saturday, inshallah, participate with our protest, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan for having me, inshallah.
Okay. Okay. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay. So that was Sheikh Mohammed Ismail. So I'm going to move on from the Sri Lankan issue. There's something else I want to say before I leave you guys, but I'm just going to wrap up on Sri Lanka. So, Sri Lanka is close to my heart, a country that I've tried to go back to at least every few years since I was a child. An amazing country, a beautiful country. I've traveled extensively around the world. It is still the most beautiful country I've ever been to in my life. And generally, when I was growing up, relations between Muslims and other religions were quite good. There were always been problems, but it's nothing like it is today, where we have a rampant Buddhist nationalism. The Muslims of Sri Lanka are powerless. When I talk to my relatives back home and my friends back home in Sri Lanka, they can't speak up. They're relying on us to speak up. And I'll be quite honest. I'm kind of I haven't spoken up myself enough about this. We tried to cover it on 5 Pillars, but personally, I don't feel I've done a good enough job trying to amplify the voices of my relatives back home who are suffering, and generally, Sri Lankans who are living in fear, really not knowing what will happen to them from one day to the next and what the future is for them in that beautiful country. So really, it is up to us to amplify their voices, to educate ourselves about what is happening in Sri Lanka. And perhaps we can do that, even if it's just to come along and listen and educate ourselves on Saturday outside the Sri Lankan High Commission from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. And I think the nearest tube was Paddington or Hyde Park or something like that.